All right. Welcome everybody to the second episode of the AISTS Alumni Talk. We have a very interesting topic today. We're going to be talking about the global marketing of one of the biggest football leagues and really one of the biggest sports leagues in the world, Spain's La Liga. I'd like to remind everybody of our format. We're going to have a 45-minute give or take panel discussion with our expert panel here, followed by 15 minutes of a question and answer. I'd like to introduce my guest host today, Eduardo Cerdán WFS. He is the marketing director at the World Football Summit and is an AISTS alum of the class of 2017. He'll be joining us from Madrid, and he was married this weekend. So we'd like to thank him very much for joining us here. And Eduardo, would you mind introducing our guest, please?
Of course. So today we have a stellar lineup from La Liga. We're a global partner of World Football Summit, so we know them very well. We have Iván Codina, Managing Director of La Liga in Southeast and South Korea and Australia. We have Patrick Lowe, Head of Sales in La Liga, North America, and José Cachaza, Director of La Liga in India. So three very, very important regions for La Liga's strategic goals.
Yeah, and we're really excited to have everybody here. So thank you to Eduardo and our expert panel for being here. I'd like to get the ball rolling with a little description of each of your positions in La Liga and maybe what some of your KPIs are and what your goals are in your job. I think I'll start with Patrick and then we can go from there.
Sure. So thanks for having me, guys. Really excited to spend an hour with everyone. So as Eduardo mentioned, and Peter as well, Patrick Lowe, Head of Sales for La Liga in North America. So when we say North America, we're talking about Canada, US primarily. Mexico, obviously, still an important piece of North America, but my focus and most of my objectives when it comes to sales and partnerships for La Liga is focused on the US and Canada regions. I would say, KPIs and objectives. One thing I would say that rings true for La Liga, across the globe would be connecting with our audience and our fans in unique ways. So most of what I do is look for partnerships with brands to help kind of implement that. So whether it's with a telecommunication partner like Verizon that we have for 3.5 years here, how can we find those types of partnerships to, connect with our fans in unique ways that probably just lives outside of broadcast? An important part of that, especially when all you hear the word sales, is obviously revenue generation. So money and those types of things help keep the lights on. So that's part of the KPIs as well. And I'd say those are kind of the two main focuses. So, working with exciting different types of brand partners in the North American region.
Great. And Iván?
Well, first of all, I think congratulations, Eduardo, newly married. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here today. As Peter and Eduardo share, I'm Iván Codina, leading the project in Singapore office, looking after Southeast Asia, Japan, Australia, and Korea. Our KPIs is to bring La Liga closer to all the different stakeholders that we have in this region. This is a particularly a special region that we didn't put much focus into until 3 years ago. So not a secret to anyone. Our main business is the distribution of the TV rights, but in order to increase the value of the TV rights, it's very important to do a previous job that is basically build our brand here and create a bigger awareness. When we first arrived in this region, La Liga was still a challenger brand. Now is little by little we have become a premium brand, and end of the day we need to increase the engagement with our fans. Try to see how we can also find commercial opportunities, not just for the cash element that is always welcome, but also because we need the help, to activate our assets in this part of the world. We are in a big disadvantage with some of our other competitors or industry colleagues, when it comes to activate our brand. Right now is a lot of the effort is done by us. So in the end, it's a domino effect. Once we manage to get, all the ball rolling, it all impacts in the awareness of the brand, and then increase on the viewership and increase the value of our TV rights.
Well, hello everyone. Thank you for having me here with my two colleagues that we don't see one another that often, so it's great to be with Ivan and Patrick. Well, as Eduardo says, I don't know if to congratulate you. I mean, I've been more than 20 years living with my wife, so enjoy it. I hope you can enjoy it for as long as good as I am. I'm José Antonio Cachaza. I am LaLiga Managing Director for India. So I manage operations from Delhi, where we manage the India subcontinent. Mostly India. India is a market giant, so all our focus is in India, but we are starting to look closely to Bangladesh as well. It's an interesting market. As Ivan said, our main business all over the world is broadcast rights, but the case of India is it is kind of special. No, it's a different market. It's a new market. It's not a football market, so that's the challenge number one. Of course, the US is not a football market initially, but India is basically cricket paradise, so to say. But still is a good space for football. No, football is already second sport in India, and in a really interesting market segment. I can go further later. Well, our main target for the last 3 years, we have been working in the market. It's basically we opened Delhi office at the same time as Singapore office. It was focused in raising our brand awareness here. I mean, explanation is obvious. Cricket country, as I said, it's still a small volume sports market. It's the 1.5 billion per year, which is small for the size of the Indian economy. And third, the same as Ivan was said, this was clearly Premier League territory. They've been here for more than 20 years. When we started fighting back, so to say, they are our friends. So, but we like to say we fight them back, and we have to catch up. For the last 5-6 years, when the international strategy of LaLiga started with our offices in Dubai and China, and in our regions, Ivan region and India region, is the last 3 years. So far, we are doing right in the sense that we have landmark agreements like the very special broadcast rights agreement with Facebook for the Indian subcontinent. Also, in a market where most international sports brands have not been able to do that much in the last years, we have one Indian global sponsor, which is BKT Tires, and also we are starting to sign deals with local sponsors. So we are having fun.
Good. Well, thank you all very much. And I think this leads into our next question perfectly. You're all from very different regions in the world with very different demographics and interests. So if you could each speak in your region specifically to the market for football and just other entertainment options in general, who are your main competitors, and how do you deal with that?
Well, for our region, number one, I would like to say that as LaLiga, we consider ourselves a sports and entertainment, like a company. It is not just purely football. So that's one thing that is I would like to, and these is in words of our president, but that help us, to have a proper approach, to the region, because you have Southeast Asia that pretty much, except for the Philippines, is a massive, crazy, markets, with a lot of football fans and very passionate, about football. And then we have the likes of Japan and South Korea, where football is not the number one sport, but still, rank among the top 3, sports. And then you have Australia that we compete with a lot of different, sports, right? In terms of who is our competitors in this region, Well, I mean, it's not a secret. You know, English Premier League, same as Jose Antonio just shared in India. Premier League is been here for the last 15 to 20 years. A lot of former British colonies. You know, early kickoffs. You know, that helps. You know, like people to be more receptive to their product. They did a wonderful work. You know, like commercializing the product. So yes, Premier League is one of our main competitors, but end of the day, we compete, with other leagues, Premier League, Bundesliga, we compete, with the Netflix, we compete for the business of, getting the attention of people's attention, like that they want to put into our property, right? So it's not just a purely, saying that all the football properties are our main competitors. We believe that the cake is big enough to get a bigger slice, and that's what we're doing here. We've been, the last 3 years working very hard to, like I said, trying to make sure that our brand was even way more relevant to the region. We have improved a lot in terms of kickoff timings, having probably 4 to 5, matches every weekend on Asia friendly time. That helps a lot. And we have seen, great results on how we are, increasing our numbers, and whether it's our measure, measuring numbers in terms of audience, in terms of, our brand awareness, or in terms of engagements, you name it. So that's pretty much, what from our stance, the look of the football appetite in our region, and who our competitors are.
So I can follow. So we go westward this way. Well, in India, first I will. We have competitors and we have also references, I should say. When I say references, I mean cricket and Bollywood. We cannot think in cricket as a competition when you find that, depending on the statistics, between 80 or 90% of the live audience of sports in India, it goes to cricket. So we cannot compete with that. So we can learn from them, and we can get close to them, as we are doing with Rohit Sharma, one of the top 3 Indian players, and probably even world cricket players, as our brand ambassador for India. It's we need to get close to them, but we cannot think that we could, in a foreseeable future, to compete with them. And then Bollywood is the biggest, the big reference of entertainment in India. So we need to be aware. And also, when you talk Bollywood, I saw some Indian names here among the students. In India, many times, or most of the times, nothing is what it seems to be. You can think that Bollywood is that big industry based out of Mumbai, which it is, but then you have incredibly powerful movie production in other languages, in Bengal, in Kannada, in Telugu. So it's just a small sample of the huge complexity on that. And then exactly what Ivan says, is our reference is it has to be the Premier League. Now we are convinced that in several fields we are working better than them, but they were. It's not just that the political and colonial influence of Britain in all Asia. I mean, EPL has worked international markets thoroughly, way before anyone else, in football at least. So we are behind, we are trailing them. So our main objective is the same that, according to FIFA classification, we are better on the pitch as a competition. We are not, we are behind in terms of revenue, and that has to be our main challenge, to overcome both the image and the revenue deficit we have with them, no matter that FIFA says that La Liga is the best football league in the world for the last 10 years.
I think for the North American region, similar to my colleagues, I mean, it's obvious that the Premier League is kind of the one that many people look towards. On our side, I think what we try to do is we want to know our audience better than anyone else. We want to know who we're connecting with and how we're connecting with them. I would say the kind of consumer journey for a soccer fan in North America is a bit weird. If you look at my father, who's in his late 60s, has always just watched NFL, or I'm Canadian, so hockey, ice hockey. When you put this thing, soccer, in front of them, he thinks, yeah, my kid played that in the summers. And then when you try to put a professional piece in front of them and say, you should watch this instead of watching, I don't know, whatever movie it is, whatever Netflix it may be, or other sports, there's a bit of a learning curve. And then when you put the Spanish product in front of them, it's probably another layer of complexity. So for us, we believe that the natural kind of endemic fit for our audience base in North America, particularly in the US, is a Hispanic American fan base. So, there's, I think, over 37 million Mexican Americans living in the US right now. And when you click into maybe, El Salvador or Venezuela or Colombians living in America, you see a huge uptick when it comes to Hispanic Americans. So that's kind of the authentic and general avenue for us to hit, the American market. And with the shifting demographics of the US, by 2026, when the World Cup comes to Canada, USA, and Mexico, what general market looks like now is going to be very different in 6 years. So it may be a surprise for some people on the call. Obviously, the Premier League being there is always there. But for us, we also see and we feel Liga MX, the Mexican National League. So, and MLS. But Liga MX for the I guess the audience that we're vying for right now, you see it a lot with Liga MX. And so what we're doing is, how do we connect with that audience, and in what language, on what platforms, whether it's a first or second or third generation Hispanic American. These are all key things for us to consider when we're trying to connect with the audience. So, I'd say Liga MX, Premier League, MLS, and then, as Ivan said, and Jose mentioned as well, we want people to watch us. We don't want them to turn on soap operas instead.
So guys, you've mentioned some of the local stars, some of your local partners. There's been cases, for instance, when La Liga opened the office in New Delhi, you had the Davis Cup team with Rafa Nadal there. And there's been mentioned at World Football Summit Live a few weeks ago, the case of the sound in the stadiums, the virtual sound that your global partner EA brought in. So how do the legends, the different Spanish sports stars fit into your marketing and internationalization strategy?
So, as you mentioned India, then I'll start. I think it's very important, and it works really well for us. So we work with celebrities at different levels. On the one hand, our main assets are La Liga ambassadors, which are big Liga names, and they are traveling all over the world to La Liga events. And I'll tell the case of India. It works really well. Each time that we bring an ambassador, the level of attention we get from the media, the demand from interviews, it's really, really, really high. It's a crave for information, for attention, and that. So that it worked well. Then La Liga, as an important part of our overall strategy, is being supported other sports. So it's not just Rafa Nadal, which is rather obvious. It's one of the top sports person all over the world, and we're lucky enough to have the whole Spain Davis Cup India, national team playing in Delhi at the same time that the office was going to be launched. So that was on. But then we work with Carolina Marin, which is quite a celebrity in India and in most Southeast Asia territories as well. So we do stuff with her, and it works well. Then we do work also with local influencers. From the very top level in India, we have, I think we are the only market where we have an ambassadorship with Rohit Sharma, which basically, as I said before, it helps us to reach that huge cricket fans who are sports fans, and we hope them to bring them to football as a second sport. It's not we want to steal them from cricket. That's not about it. And also we do stuff with Bollywood actors and other kind of smaller level influencers. So as Ivan rightly said before, we are selling entertainment. So we need to be constantly thinking out of the box. No, I mean, the traditional say, okay, you have actual players, former players, that's it. No, or as we were criticizing social media in India when we signed Rohit Sharma, well, why don't you sign top Indian players like Baichung Bhutia, former player, or some of the current stars? Well, because we need to think out of the box. We need to expand. Sunil Chhetri is what the name it wasn't. I was going to say. We need to go beyond that. So we cannot restrain ourselves to do what's obvious, because then we won't reach. We won't be able to grow. At least that's our philosophy.
Yeah, and I think if I may, Jose Antonio, just to add on that, in the end, this is our motto, our slogan. No, it's not football, it's La Liga. No, so this ability, to be able to reach, like not just the traditional football fans, but also to be able to reach a greater audience out there, and this is something that has been very helpful, especially for Jose Antonio and myself in regions where either football is not number one, or either we are not the premium brand that we are in other markets. So that approach, and that thinking out of the box is something that has been very welcome, by plenty of fans out there that they would never have engaged with La Liga if it was just as a traditional football fan. So just a little bit to add into what Jose Antonio was sharing.
I think on our side in North America, we've come forward in the last kind of year and a half, 2 years with the content heavy strategy. So everything we do, content is at the core. So there's the ambassadors and the former players who obviously have a great following that, Jose Antonio mentioned. And obviously it's core for us, and Ivan said it too, having those former players, which is amazing. For us, what we've been doing is we have 6 Spanish shows in English per week and 5 in English per week. So again, finding ways to connect with maybe the Hispanic American demographic in multi-languages. So being able to do that is key. Probably before that, most people would say, wow, US, you're just going to post something in English and people will automatically engage with it. It's not necessarily the case here. We know that. So for us, it's when we create those content shows, whether it's in Spanish or in English, who are our hosts? Are they influencers? What type of demographic would that host hit? Is it a younger demographic? Is it a English-speaking demographic? Where do they prefer to consume that product? Is it on a phone? Is it on a laptop? Is it on TV? So for us, these are all things that we consider when we're building out that content and those shows as kind of the staple of how we interact with our audience. So, we had Jimmy Conrad last year, who was a former US men's national team, and now he's more of a YouTuber. So you can see if you watch a Jimmy show with La Liga, he's very in your face, hands flying, and we believe that he's hitting that younger demo. But then you have Luis Garcia Postigo, who's a former Atletico Madrid and Mexican national team player, who's a massive commentator, who really kind of hits maybe, I wouldn't say the older demographic of Hispanic Americans, but we kind of select those influencers and anchors and mesh that with our ambassador program to make sure we're getting the amplification we need, but we're still very calculated with who we want to talk to.
Great, thank you. And so La Liga has the 2 most popular and biggest clubs in the world, in Real Madrid and FC Barcelona. How important to La Liga as a whole is the health of those 2 clubs?
I'd say important. I mean, obviously they're 2 important clubs, and I think all of us would be lying if we didn't say that. I mean, obviously Real and Barca are incredible clubs, and we're proud to have them in the league. It goes towards Eduardo's background as well, though. Atletico is an incredible club, and I would argue that over the last 5 to 10 years, you could put any team from any club from any league in a 2-leg match with Atleti, and I would say Atleti would probably get the better of them most of the time. So it goes beyond the 2, but obviously we're very proud of those 2. And I would say for us in the North American market, yes, those 2 get us maybe to general market quickly. But we actually have a lot of other incredible clubs in La Liga that we're seeing upticks here. I mean, you look at Real Betis, which may sound as a surprise for some. They have Guardado and Lainez playing there, who are both Mexican national team players. And for us, when we host a watch party pre-COVID in maybe southern US, and it's a Sevilla Betis match, it's just as popular in that area as maybe the two big clubs. So obviously the big ones are great and we love them. But I think there's a lot more to La Liga that extends beyond those two, and you know, seeing health and kind of what President Tebas has implemented with centralized broadcasting rights, we're seeing the health across all the clubs, not just the two big, but obviously they're important. So
Patrick, if I may, a follow-up question on that, the La Liga and the US. Obviously, well, Javier Tebas has said publicly many times that he wants to host a regular season match of La Liga in the US, following the example of other professional leagues like the NFL. Do you think this will take place sometime soon, and what would it mean for the region?
I believe it's a matter of when rather than if. You know, I think President Tebas is bullish on that, and I think all of us here support him and support the vision. It kind of goes back to one of the original things that, you know, all three of us have mentioned. You know, obviously media and broadcasting is incredibly important for us as a league. But, you know, if you think of what I said earlier with bringing La Liga in unique ways and connecting with fans in unique ways, that could be through the content that we're creating. It could be through broadcast and the audiovisual product that we're putting forward, which is incredible. Or it could be bringing a match to our fans here stateside. So, you know, I think it's obviously a polarizing kind of conversation in media, but I do see the value in it, and I think it's a great idea, and I think you know, we see it as a matter of kind of when rather than if. So stay tuned. I don't think I have the power to say when that's going to be, but I think it's gonna come soon, hopefully.
Well, if I just to add on, I think it's just to echo Patrick's, you know, like thoughts. You know, it's probably a matter of when rather than if it's going to happen or not. We would love to be the first ones, you know, like but if it's not La Liga, I'm sure it's going to be some other league, you know, the first ones, you know, like to make it happen. It's like everything in life. Sometimes, you know, like when you first find out about these changes, or it's always hard to accept. I always use as an example, and since I moved, you know, into Asia, before there were no Asia-friendly matches, and people in Spain were thinking like, are you guys crazy? You know, like having a noon, you know, like a kickoff in Spain, you know, like that's impossible. You know, that's not acceptable. But look, now it almost looks like it's even a better time if you want to go and enjoy a football match with your family on a Sunday. You know, so. It's something, you know, and I look after this region here in Asia, you know, and I hope it's not only, you know, one game happening in New York or in the US market, but also why not in Asia and in any of the markets, or in India, you know, at some point. So I'm pretty sure it's a matter of time, but let's see.
Yeah, I think there's two issues I want to mention. No, is first. Let's not think there will be a match in the US. Probably the US could be the first place, but once that happen, then there will be a huge pressure of other markets wanting to go for this. No, and many things are changing especially in our regions. No, as Ivan said, in India we are still working for bringing big matches. We did it 2 summers ago when we. To have Girona playing in Kerala, but many myths are breaking out. No, as Ivan says, we are an entertainment operation, and when you are thinking of these big matches, somebody has to pay for it, and somebody, I mean, broadcast rights that usually they are taken. That's sponsorship, and that's ticket sales. If you look at India, there was a myth that ticket sales value in India was nothing, other than probably IPL and India matches. And suddenly last December, the guys of Book My Show organized a show of U2, the Irish band, and they sell 42,000 tickets with most prices around 80, 90 euros. So that's absolutely international prices. That was something that many people was thinking, oh, that's not possible. In India, people pays 100 rupees, 200 rupees a ticket. Well, those things are changing. So we can expect many changes in the next 10 years.
Great. And I think a good follow-up on that is with the popularization of preseason tournaments, international preseason tournaments in each of your regions, the International Champions Cup for one. How much has actually bringing the teams onto your soil and in front of your fans meant for the league in each of your regions?
I'll answer first, okay, because I'll be really quick. We only were able to bring Girona 2 years ago. It worked really well. And now we were in talks to bringing other teams, meaning higher level teams, top teams. But we are still in that process.
I think Ivan and I have had the luxury or the benefit more than Jose Antonio. I think on our side, La Liga probably a year and a half ago put out a tender to have a joint venture in the US and Canada and North America. And basically you had a lot of the usual suspects kind of come forward and say, we'd love to be that joint venture, that kind of operating arm in North America for La Liga. And the reason we kind of did this was to have that kind of local grassroots knowledge of the market. You can't just come into the US and say, we're here, we have a WeWork, we have 2 people and we're ready to go. It's, you have a lot of foreign sport properties here. You have a lot of local properties here who are very aggressive in investing in the market. So what we did is we had a joint venture with Relevant Sports Group, who are the owners of the International Champions Cup. So for us, I think it works in a few ways. It gives us the local knowledge and the local partnership, but it's also a terrific kind of avenue to engage and interact with our clubs when they come on those preseason tours, particularly in the US. So last summer, for example, pre-COVID, we had the 3 big ones with Barca playing Napoli in Michigan and in Florida, and then we had Atletico and Real both competing in the kind of the ICC. So for us, it's a great touch point. It's always great to work closely with the clubs. And I'd say for us, it's it goes back to whether it's activating with the players or the peñas, the fan clubs. Maybe it's going and attending the matches. I mean, there's so many different things that bringing the game closer to our fans, to the brands, and everyone around here. It's a great opportunity for us. So so far the partnership with Relevant Sports and the ICC has been incredible, and it's a 15-year joint venture. So I'm excited to see what's to come.
Well, for us is massive, to be able to have some of the La Liga clubs, playing in our region is something that is probably one of the biggest assets, that we can take advantage of. We had in the past 3 years 5 to 6 clubs playing in the region. We have the last summer we had FC Barcelona playing 2 matches in Japan, in Tokyo and Kobe. And in the end is the impact, and how the leverage that we can get out of, these teams, participating in summer tours in the region, that engagement, not just, with the fans, but also with some of the commercial partners, and the benefits, that this represents for the broadcasters, this is massive. And this is something that you cannot accomplish just, with the right, digital campaigns or bringing some of the ambassadors or any of the other strategies that we work. So it's going to be sad not to be able to see any clubs, any La Liga clubs touring around this summer. So we hope that for next year, we will see again a few, 1 or 2 at the very least, La Liga clubs touring in Asia.
Yeah, and that brings up an interesting follow-up, I think. Obviously, teams can't tour this summer. Do you see that having an impact on your viewership next season in your regions, or your popularity in your regions for the upcoming season?
Sorry, I wouldn't think so. I think it's great, to be able to engage with the fans and all the different stakeholders in the region, like when these summer tours happen, but I don't think it would have a massive, impact on the viewership, for the next season. In the end, in a lot of these markets, what has been, working very well for us is the fact that we have some of the top, Asian talent, playing at La Liga. So we have the best Chinese player, I think nobody can argue that, playing for Espanyol. We have 5, starting 11, Japanese players playing at La Liga, probably Kubo being the best current Japanese player, or we have Kang in South Korea. So this is really what makes an impact, in our region, when we have not just, a random Asian talent, but actually the best of the Asian talent playing at La Liga. That is what really has, an impact in the viewership. And that, in the end, supported by the right strategy, that we have, the local strategy that we have market by market. It helps, to increase, our TV ratings, that as we can see for the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, I would like to add to that. First, I am praying every day to find an Indian player with level enough for playing at La Liga. Sadly, Indian football is not there yet. It's improving, but it's not there yet. What Ivan is basically true. What we need to look closely is how it's changing the way football is consumed. So, and also in our overall strategy or any league strategy, these away matches is just another promotion tool, just another. But those matches, the match itself, and also I want to say also something that we are all breaking our heads now to see what the hell we can do next season, because many of the stuff we were used to do, we can't. So probably until the end of the year, we cannot even do a private viewing. A public viewing, not even a VIP private viewing, because the risk of with COVID is it's over. But if you call it a football match, or you call it a VIP private viewing, or a public viewing, as we had 2 years ago in Delhi with 16,000 people watching a Clásico, it has to have a projection. It has to have a projection on traditional media, but most specifically in digital media. We do not organize a Clásico. We invest a lot of money organizing a Clásico public viewing for those 16,000 people or 20,000 people. We do it because we are making a huge impact in the market. And for bringing those 16,000, we need to spread the word to a few million fans, that some of them will come. So I think if you look closely what happened when the La Liga came back, or Bundesliga came back, and EPL came back, is automatically audiences rose. So much audiences are being higher right now, because people is consuming different. And when I say consuming different, let's not forget digital. Each time is more relevant, highlights, clips. That's the way the younger generation, especially millennials, they are consuming, So I think in La Liga, we are in a very good situation. And I was having a conversation, a chat on the phone with Ivan 2 weeks ago about this, We have been very, very aggressive, increasing our digital footprint all over the world for the last 3 years. And this sort of pay off now when the lockdown came. So we have a huge, a team, a quite well greased team for working out and creating contents when there was no football, which is our real content. So we need to look at it in a different way. It's not just black or white. No, it's, I have match or I have no match. If I don't have a friendly match, then the audience will, no, there's many other elements we need to look at.
I'm with the guys. I don't see the baseline dropping. For us, I would say we see the uptick as well. You're seeing so many different, and we have an incredible broadcasting partner in North America. Now you're seeing so many different partnerships that they're making with OTT and streaming platforms as well, where there's additional subs coming in, daily. So I actually see the uptick. I don't see it dropping. When it goes to players, again, I mean, the kind of endemic, genuine fit for us is that Hispanic American audience, which they're already football fans. They're not leaving football. and then I see the uptick. So, you know, being Canadian, I hope Alphonso Davies comes to a La Liga team. He's amazing in Bayern Munich. But you have Conrad de la Fuente, who signed, you know, extended with Barcelona, who's an American player. Would love to see him kind of rise to prominence. But you see it more and more. So I see it staying and growing, even without the preseason.
Great. Yeah. Thank you. And I was, as an American fan myself, my next question was going to touch on Conrad de la Fuente. But Jose Antonio, you mentioned how much you would love to see an Indian player make it over to La Liga and get some serious time. Maybe Ivan, you can speak to this most because you do have players in your region who are really coming to prominence on the field in La Liga, and there are Mexican players as well in Guardado and Diego Lainez. How important is it to have those players from your region getting on the field and getting visibility for your popularity in the region?
Well, for us, like I mentioned, you know, it's crucial. I mean, the biggest example that I can think of right now is if you look at the NBA, you know, what the NBA did many years ago. You know, like they started, you know, like to plant a seed, you know, in China, you know, like and a few years later, you know, they got a very tall guy called Yao Ming, you know, that made it into the NBA, and not just, you know, as a exotic, you know, Chinese player, but actually with a player that was, you know, competitive, you know, like, and being able to make it into the All-Star even in his rookie season, probably because of the amount of votes that he got from China fans. But so to your question, you know, it's wonderful, you know, like to have, you know, like this, you know, like Asian players, you know, like playing at La Liga, and it's wonderful that they are not just, you know, an average players, but actually they are players that are making a difference in our league. But also, I believe that this, you know, should go in, you know, together with a strategy. You know, like we would never get most out of this opportunity if we don't have the current, you know, like international project that we have, you know, with the 9 international offices, with the 50 over, you know, like global network delegates sent across the world, and being able to be relevant to the markets, understanding what are the behavior of the fans in that particular market, even when they are not traditionally La Liga fans. You know, like how are we going to get most out of it if we have Takehisa Kubo playing for Mallorca, you know, and Mallorca is not Real Madrid or FC Barcelona. Well, you know, right now, you know, this season we had that the biggest, you know, follow team, you know, La Liga team in Japan was, you know, or the team with the biggest audiences was Mallorca. And it's not random. It's not just, you know, because Kubo was playing there. So I put a lot of emphasis to that, you know, that is so important to make sure that, you know, and not just from La Liga's point of view, you know, we also need to work very close with our clubs to make sure that they also get most out of this opportunity. So all together, all these efforts combined, you know, like is what is going to make an impact ultimately in the audiences and the TV ratings that is going to, you know, give us the opportunity to go into the next level. So yes, it's wonderful. And I really hope, you know, like for my dear colleagues that they get, you know, the next Indian, you know, best football talent to play in La Liga, and same for the US market or the North American market. But, you know, it's not just, you know, as simple as that. You know, it is an entire equation that I think we've been working very well as La Liga these days.
And Patrick and Jose Antonio, sorry, before you jump in, and I'll ask that you continue after I say this, please. That is 45 minutes, so it is now into the time where our guests can ask any questions they may have. I'll remind the audience, please hit the raise hand icon. We're gonna continue with that question, but if you have any questions, we'll ask you to turn on your camera. And I would like to remind everybody who may be chiming in with a question, this is being recorded and will be posted on our Facebook channels. So please keep it appropriate. But Patrick or Jose Antonio, please continue while we wait for questions.
I want to catch up in a couple of issues that Ivan said. First, NBA, it's clear for that. If you take the NBA strategy in India, they basically have one main goal: find the Indian Yao Ming. And for that, they have probably 6 or 7 times more budget that La Liga we have for this market. I mean, we have a great relationship with them because we are the only international leagues with a presence here in the country. But basketball is not football. Football has a grassroots structure in India that basketball doesn't, and also an awareness level that basketball does not have. So the strategy has to be different. So as Ivan says, we cannot focus on that. No, it really helps. Ivan mentioned Japan, but also in China, the audience levels of Espanol was at the level of Madrid and Barcelona, sometimes even above them, even when sadly Espanol was just relegated to second division. But Chinese ownership, a good Chinese player, and this is important. When I say, oh, I would love to have an Indian player in La Liga. Well, that's not enough. I mean, just to have a player as a filler, that's not work. I mean, take India. Indian fans, they are proud. They are in cricket, they are winners. They are among the best. So they don't want to see an Indian playing 3 minutes per match for I don't know, Getafe. That's not enough. So it has to be at the level, let's say, of Inui when it was in Eibar. And this, again, linking to what Ivan said, is really important. When you asked us before about Madrid, Barca, yeah, they are important, but the important part of our work in all of our offices is to help all other clubs to have that presence, no? To remember the fans that, like say the tier 2 clubs, Spanish clubs, that could be Atletico, Sevilla, Valencia, well, they are playing European finals. They are beating those English teams that they think they are superior. So we are there, but also we need to help those other brands like Espanyol, like Eibar, like Getafe, Villarreal, another hell of a club who are they competing in Europe constantly. So our jobs is to find spaces in the media and social media to make them popular. And this is a long-term job. Results will get with time, not in 1 month, not in 1 year, not in 3 years. It's just like I like to say, like a fine rain. No, to let it rain, let it rain, let it rain, let it rain, and one day that will be there.
Yeah, and I think you know, Jose Antonio mentioned earlier, the English League has been out there, globalization, for since the 90s. For us, it's a long-term project, as you mentioned. I think I alluded to it earlier when I said, you know, gave the kind of consumer journey of my father. Yeah, soccer, that's the thing Patrick plays in the summers. He plays ice hockey in the winters. That's different now in North America. It's not the same. So soccer is becoming a 12 months year-round 365 sport, which maybe we didn't see as much. So I think having a player in La Liga would be great. As Jose Antonio mentioned, you know, it's important that it's a good player. We've seen some already. Josie Altidore was in La Liga before, so we've seen it, and we've seen good players. Having that staple here that's going to be there, kind of season in, season out, would be great. And I think it's, you know, going back to the long-term play, you're going to see it continue to kind of evolve. And, you know, with 2026 kind of being the pinnacle on this side, you know, this side of the world, I would hope and think that we're going to see more of it, and it's going to help every club.
Great, thank you. And we do have a question here from Rajul Sharda. Rajul, I'm going to ask you to turn on your camera, please. And there we go. Ask whenever you're ready. Welcome. Thank you.
Hello. My question is to Jose. Hello, Jose. So for La Liga, I think the biggest competition in India is the EPL. And I believe they are currently winning the race. And the broadcasting access is one of the biggest reasons, in my opinion. The match production is far superior. And the fight between Facebook, not the fight, but the problem between the schedules on Facebook and Sony is a bit problematic for the fans. So I believe that the marketing activities and involvement of Rohit Sharma are spot on. What are you doing in your capacity to get over these kind of issues?
Well, the first thing I have to say, you said something that is not true. I mean, the production of La Liga matches today is way better, way superior to that of EPL, which is old and boring. We are way personal opinion, ahead on that. So, but This is important when I say this, because the next question is, oh, all your matches are at 1 a.m. Well, they are not. So these are the challenges we have in a market, to change perceptions, okay? Then in India, it's very difficult to know where you are in terms of audience. I mean, in terms of audience, EPL is really, really, really low in numbers because they are, as you know, in the premium channels of Star. So they went drastically for 40 million to around 15 million. So in several years, in terms of audience, we are ahead of them. Does this mean that in terms of image and in terms of following, we are ahead of them? No, we are not. And we know that, we are aware of that. Well, you say that you would like to have La Liga in Sony. Well, we have a partner, which is, we believe is our best partner, and it's been an incredible experience. It's called Facebook. And when for watching any other football match, you need to have a pay TV, a pay channel, La Liga, you can watch it for free. Yeah, I know the argument that, a network access is not that good in India. Well, it cannot be that bad when IPL is having almost more viewership now on Hotstar than on the main Star channel. So could be better off if we were in more channels? Of course, yes. If we are all over, more people will watch it. But we are quite convinced that in La Liga in general, we are betting in a digital future, and also the way sports is seen all over the world is changing. So now your traditional channel, it has a lot of viewership, especially on X generation and older, but you see the future where it's going is on the Netflix, on the pure OTTs, and then you have the next stream, pure digital, as is our experience with Facebook. So we are convinced we are in the right direction. Do we have to improve things to do things better? Of course, yes. We always need to improve. Always, but not just us, everyone, and it's what it makes us better. And again, look again to a La Liga match on Facebook, because the production is way better. The technical investment that La Liga is doing on the quality of our productions, no one else is doing it. Yes, when you go to a Champions League final, the World Cup, yeah, that's superior. But EPL, I say no way.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Rajul. And we have a question from Claudio Ballor. Claudio, whenever you're ready, please.
Questions. I work in the Italian market. We really saw the difference in the last 10 years of the growth that La Liga has made just at the expenses of the Serie A. And I was wondering how much, I see really the big difference in the foreign markets, meaning you guys working in foreign markets. So I was just wondering how much is really the help of these offices for the clubs themselves, because I guess that the most important is to have local offices helping not only the league as a whole, but clubs themselves to market in different countries than the own one.
I'm going to answer that one, guys. In my opinion, it's huge. It's huge. It's a huge benefit and a huge support that our clubs are getting, by the fact of having an international program or strategy that we have at La Liga. In my own opinion, if you ask me, if you look at the Serie A, and I grew up, following a lot of the Serie A in the 90s, I'm a big fan also of Serie A. Why not? If you look, you have, clubs, you have 5 or 6, very strong brands, as a clubs, and if you look, even if you compare with La Liga, some of our clubs, that they've been, delivering, results, or competing at the highest level, at the European level, and doing things, wonderfully. I mean, we still and Serie A, struggling in the last few years. you still have the likes of, I mean, on top of my mind, you know, without even making an effort, is 5 very strong brands. And why then is the Serie A, you know, where they are now, and which I believe that they are bouncing back and they're starting to do things, very, very good, you know, so I think that single thing, you know, answers, you know, to your question. If they were, you know, like strong enough, you know, like to fly our way, you know, like without the help of the league itself, you know, like we would probably see, you know, like Serie A at the level of the Premier League nowadays. And that's my own opinion.
Well, it's I think as football fan, no, and with certain age, as my case, it's kind of surprising how Serie A has lost positioning internationally, no? Because in the early 90s, I mean, nobody could argue that Serie A was the best league in the world, no? Great Milan, great Juventus, even that great Sampdoria that played 2 European finals against Barcelona. So, I mean, the 2 Rome teams, wow, it's, you have 7, 8, as Ivan says, unquestionable football brands that any football fan all over the world respects, if not loves, no? I don't know, my take is probably that Italian football started to look too much to themselves and not looking abroad. Maybe that's what explains it. And maybe an evidence of that is that the revenue that Serie A gets for international broadcast rights is far, far away from what La Liga is getting now, no? You asked concretely about the offices. Well, I'll go before. La Liga started years ago, and especially with the coming of Javier Tebas to the presidency of La Liga, to being aggressive in the international markets. And one of the reasons of opening the offices and launching the Global Network project, that we have professionals working in 35 different countries, is that it gives us, we were now, before talking about what's our objectives, what we sell, what we try to do, but it's also important that the broadcasters have someone they can call, and someone that calls them and say, hey, what we can do, so it's this closeness to the broadcaster is a step beyond. It helps. But what's important is that there was a clear strategy that somebody in La Liga said, hey, listen, our big market is overseas. I mean, let's put it this way. Your internal market is your internal market. So when Serie A goes, they have to, now I know they're in a fight, they have to negotiate with the local broadcasters. And that's what it is. You cannot compete with the English, with the Germans, with the Spanish. Our market is our market. But in theoretically, when we go abroad, we are at the same level. We are the same level. We are competing in equal conditions. And if the EPL is number 1, La Liga is number 2, and they are way ahead of us, but we are also way ahead of you, it means that probably you need to, and I think, as Ivan said, Italian clubs, they are starting to look closely to international markets, but that's the difference. I mean, which is surprising, because you Italians are probably the best in the world selling your products. So it's kind of surprising.
Yeah, Peter, I think we're probably at time, but if I give 15 seconds on it, I think the offices, as Jose Antonio mentioned, and Ivan, are crucial to it. I mean, even if it's outside of the ICC, last year Sevilla was here. When Sevilla comes, we always meet them. We host mini events with them. We did a breakfast with La Liga series where we had Betis and Sevilla for El Gran Derby, where both clubs sent executives to New York. We brought in media, brought in fans, all these different types of things that it helps as a support group, and it's a different way to interact with clubs and to help them grow the brand too. So I think the office support is crucial, and it's great.
So if I may, Peter, one last question, and a short one. We've touched upon the pandemic and mentioned a few ways the situation has affected La Liga and its fans worldwide. Could you each say either one takeaway, either from La Liga's official point of view, from your personal point of view, or a message for the future for next season?
Look, from my end, I think that it's more than ever, very important for any organization to stay very proactive, very agile, to adjust to the current conditions. All these rigid organizations that are not able to accept change, or they're not ready for it, are going to suffer a lot. So in this regards, I think that La Liga, we have, we are lucky to have a very good, structure that supports. I mean, I'm not going to say we were prepared for that. Nobody is, that would be lying. But what I would say is that we have a structure that has allowed us, to face, this current situation in a better way than a lot of other, organizations. I think that one key takeaway from my end, in my region in particular, is that communication, is always been key. But nowadays it looks like it's even more key. To be able to understand exactly what are the challenges, what are the consequences of the current situation for our stakeholders, and being able to together, overcome and develop, strategies that is not benefiting just La Liga to get closer to the fans, or engage with them, but also support the objectives of our partners is been crucial. And like I said, I think this is pure Darwinism nowadays. Those who have the ability to adjust, to the current conditions are gonna become even stronger. I think it's gonna be great opportunities out there. It's gonna be, probably a hard competition to get them. But if your organization is ready for the challenge, I think I still want to think positive. Of course, it's difficult times ahead, but still a lot of opportunities, for everyone.
I think, building just a little bit on Ivan, what Ivan said, which was right, perfect. I was listening, it was 2 weeks ago in the World Football Summit, Emilio Butragueño from Real Madrid saying this: what this COVID crisis proves is that the impossible can happen. So, and this is basically what we all been facing since March, when the world stopped. Not La Liga, not the world of sports, the world stopped. So then from there, basically, at least until we find, I don't know, a vaccine or a cure or whatever to COVID, I think we had to be ready for adjusting anything you plan. No, as I said, now we are all in our offices working out our plans for next year. But something that's totally different to last year is, okay, when is the Clásico, we'll do this. When is the Grand Derby, we'll do that. Well, it's not that obvious right now, no? So we need to be ready to react, to move things from one place to another, to change events or adapt it to the situation. So we need to be absolutely ready to move. And as Ivan said, whoever from now on, it was quite clear, no? So sociologists are saying the changes that were being hinted, it will be speed up. So mostly who is self-complacent or who it's rigid in the way of work, it will die on the process. So of course you have to have a strategy. You have to have quite clear your objectives and your means. But with objective and means, your resources, you need to be really fast moving them and adjusting them and moving them in time, using them, if not for this, for that. This is the mess. I mean, be ready to improvise. Don't be afraid of improvise.
On our side, I guess I can look at it with a slightly different lens or scope than my colleagues. Being in the sales world and commercial partnerships, kind of two takeaways over the last few months for me have been a bit of luck, content being heavy and at the core of everything we do in the US market. We've been able to continue with production. We have an in-house studio producing all of our content, so we've been able to kind of continue with it. It's harder without games, that's no question. We don't want to have no games next year, but we've been a bit lucky that a lot of the partnerships that we've developed over the years are core focus on content and producing different types of content. So we're a bit lucky there, but one thing I would say is long-term partnerships. Jose Antonio mentioned it earlier. You can't just be in this for the next 6 months or short-sighted year or one season. I mean, the partnerships, whether it is commercial partnerships or all stakeholders, we want it to be the long-term. And when you have long-term partnerships, more than just, contractual obligations, you're going to find a lot of ways to navigate difficult situations easier. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be easier. So I think being in it for the long run, having commitment to what we're all doing enables us to navigate difficult situations like a pandemic. So,
well, thank you all very much. And I'd like to thank Eduardo, also my co-hosts here, and Patrick, Ivan, and Jose Antonio. I apologize we went a little long here, but it was a great conversation, and I don't think anybody in the audience quite wanted it to stop. So thank you very much. And thank you everybody for joining. Please join us next month for our next topic.